Jenkins finally got a W-2 job, but not even a week in, he is already giving every possible reason to lose it. After nearly a year of dodging responsibility with gig work and stringing together endless excuses, Drew is now back at Safeway, the same grocery retail job he once held before quitting and spiraling into a full-time cycle of online performance and finger-pointing. But instead of treating this new employment as a second chance, as a lifeline to financial stability and family responsibility, Drew seems dead set on sabotaging himself from the jump. Drew hasn't even finished his onboarding, and yet he's already caused unnecessary controversy at his new job. What should have been a critical moment to buckle down, learn the ropes, and finally prove himself capable of holding steady work has instead turned into another reckless display of his lack of maturity and professionalism. During Safeway's official onboarding process, a stage designed to train employees on workplace policy, customer engagement, and safety standards and proprietary procedures, Drew decided it was the perfect opportunity to turn corporate training into TikTok content. Yes, instead of focusing on learning, Drew whipped out his phone and began filming inside the Safeway training area. He then posted clips of internal training videos, orientation slides, and step-by-step instructions meant for any employee eyes. These aren't just casual clips. These are confidential materials that any serious company, especially one the size of Safeway, would flag immediately as breach of policy. This is a national chain with clear boundaries about confidentiality, branding, and employee conduct. Sharing internal training publicly isn't just frowned upon, it's ground for immediate termination. So what exactly was he thinking? Was it for clout? To show off? To prove to Stephanie that he's actually at the job he claimed to be at? Or was it more strategic, meant to convince donors that he's truly trying after all those GoFundMe contributions? Either way, this kind of careless behavior sends a loud message. Drew doesn't value the opportunity, he values the optics.
Drew Jenkins is not going to last at his job. He's posting confidential information from Safeway where he's onboarding, and you can see the screenshots down here. He's like on his phone constantly when he's working. He's supposed to be onboarding, but he's taking pictures of like him completing those training videos that you have to do, like the safety, the bacteria prevention, hand washing thing, whatever that you have to do when you onboard, especially if you're handling any kind of food. Why is he taking pictures of everything? Like, I feel like he's trying to intentionally get fired, so that way he has an excuse to be like, hey, to the judge, hey, dude, I tried to get a job, but they fired me, because it was interfering with my other job. And don't you, that's right, I'm looking at his account. I'm looking at, Drew Jenkins' TikTok account, and tell me why he has so close to 10K. I don't like that. I don't like that he's going to be able to monetize, so please do not go follow him. If you want to watch his videos, only watch them when you search them, and then he won't make any money.
But that's not the only job he's been treating like content. Drew has also been live streaming and uploading videos of his DoorDash deliveries, another job that demands professionalism, discretion, and respect of customer privacy. Yet, instead of taking that seriously, Drew films himself accepting orders, showing food bags, identifying customer drop-off zones, and narrating his tasks like he's running a reality vlog. In some cases, he even reveals addresses or sensitive delivery information, all while trying to prove that he's on the grid. It's not about working for him, it's about being seen working. He's performing labor for the internet, not showing up with real intent to hold the job. This type of performative work culture isn't just unproductive, it's dangerous. When someone is more concerned about creating content than fulfilling their duties, they are not just unreliable, they are a liability. So the real question becomes, is Drew already paving the way for another excuse? If Safeway lets him go, he can now say, see, I tried. It just didn't work out. And the cycle will begin again. Another round of blame, another GoFundMe plea, another story about how the world is just too hard for him to succeed. But let's be honest, if Drew can't take a job seriously during training, what's he going to be like on the actual floor? Excuses stack up before the work begins. Even before his first full shift, Drew was already waving around his new job like a get out of jail free card, except in this case, it was to get out of court card. He told the court he couldn't attend a scheduled child custody hearing because he was in the middle of essential job training. It sounded serious enough until the court called his bluff and refused to reschedule. And surprise, Drew showed up anyway. So what happened to that all-important training? Was it really impossible to miss? Or was it just a convenient excuse to dodge legal accountability one more time? This isn't just a minor slip-up. It's a window into how Drew operates, how he uses the job not as a responsibility, but as a shield to avoid facing consequences. If he could suddenly attend court after saying it was impossible, then the initial excuse loses all credibility.
Drew from the resilient Jenkins finally got a job, y'all. Drew finally got a job. And then not only that, because court was today. So he tried to say that he wasn't going to be able to make it because he had job training. But he is required to drop Deshaun off with his mom and leave. And if he does not follow with this court order, then there will be an immediate court order the judge will take in place of what's going to happen. So then, hopefully, Deshaun will be living with Desiree.
It suggests the job training wasn't that vital. Or maybe it wasn't even happening the way he claimed. But Drew didn't stop there. He arrived at the court late and continued to lean on the job excuse as the reason for his tardiness. And yet somehow, he had ample time earlier that day to post on social media, share selfies, and engage with his followers about completely unrelated things. He didn't look rushed. He didn't look stressed. He looked like someone playing a role, trying to juggle optics while skating around real obligations. The contradiction is loud. If this job is so critical to your livelihood and stability, why are you using it as a prop in courtroom drama? Why is it a fallback excuse when things get uncomfortable? It's becoming clearer that Drew isn't working to build stability for his family. He's working to build and protect a storyline, one where he's the misunderstood, struggling father who is always trying, but just can't catch a break. And that story pays. It garners sympathy, softens criticism, and keeps the donations and support rolling in every time he tries and fails. But trying and failing is very different from never ending to succeed in the first place. And Drew's pattern of ducking accountability, even while posturing as responsible, makes it hard to believe this job is anything more than another performance piece for the audience. Let's not forget, Drew has publicly admitted to hating being told what to do and struggling with customer interactions. This is the same man who has gone on record in live streams, comments, and rants saying he doesn't like structure, doesn't want to be micromanaged, and absolutely loathes the way customers speak to retail workers. He has made it clear that he prefers to do things on his own terms, without supervision, and certainly without having to answer to authority. And yet, despite all this, he's now working at a job that is the very definition of structure, authority-led, and customer-focused. He's back at Safeway, where his entire shift will revolve around taking orders, following procedures, and dealing with people from all walks of life, including the very rude customers he previously complained about. The irony is almost laughable. So you have to ask, is Joe really trying to make this job work? Or is this all one big setup for failure? Is this another carefully planned storyline where he gets to say, "See, I tried, but the system failed me"? Because the way he's been using the job so far, blaming it for being late to court, skipping responsibilities, and avoiding content-related tasks, it's starting to look less like genuine employment and more like a prop in his ongoing narrative. He's already presenting the job as a burden, an obstacle, or something that's constantly in his way rather than something he's excited to grow into. It's almost as if Drew wants to get fired, just so he can continue playing the victim, So he can say, I tried doing the right thing, but it just didn't work out. And just like that, the cycle continues. Another excuse, another sub story, another donation link. That's why people are questioning whether this job is truly about building a better future or just another plot twist in the long running saga of avoiding responsibility while keeping the sympathy rolling in. While Drew plays Employee of the Week on TikTok, Stephanie is still painting motel life like it's some kind of whimsical family retreat. She recently posted a video of her children picking blackberries behind the motel, farming like a Pinterest-style summer memory. But if you look beyond the filter, the truth was plain as day. Her daughter, in the blistering heat of the summer, was wearing a full jumper, visibly sweating, trying to act like everything was okay. The scene wasn't charming, it was heartbreaking. It was yet another attempt by Stephanie to spin neglect into nostalgia, trying to make survival look like adventure. The reality is that the motel is small, overcrowded, and suffocating in the summer heat. It's a shelter, not a vacation. And the kids? They are the ones paying the price. There is no sign that Stephanie has gotten the proper summer clothing: shorts, breathable tops, even sandals. Most of the days, the kids look like they are dressed for a completely different season, wearing whatever mismatched, oversized clothing happens to be available. That's not quirky, that's a lack of care. Stephanie constantly rants about how hot the motel room is. But what does she do with that information? Nothing. She doesn't take the kids out to cool off. Not to a nearby park, not to a splash pad, not even to a public library or air-conditioned supermarket where they could at least get a short break from the heat. She sits with them in that cramped motel room and then gets online and talks about how stressful it all is for her. Her main excuse is always the same. They only have one car and Drew takes it for work.
So in case any of you all are curious about that shirt that I'm always rocking inside out, it's this one at the beginning of the video. I had actually recorded this morning routine the day after we spent the night at the other motel. But it was a busy day, everyone was tired and exhausted and just needed a little extra mom attention, so I didn't really get to editing by the end of the day. So there's this big old blackberry bush outside where we're staying right now. So the plant kind of grew upward and they're kind of high for us to reach, and we have the good ones that are ready to be picked, but we still got as many as we could because we wanted to try to put together like a breakfast that had some kind of blackberries. We used the blackberries in some way. Man, that's why every video I have less and less eyebrows. I don't know what is up with that, but I think it's maybe just the stress of living in this motel with all these kids and it's hot and we're stuck in here 90% of the time, like I don't know what you're thinking. If it's so hot, then why you also bundled up? The first thing in the morning and then like later at night, 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, there's this weird temperature dip, and then it takes like forever for it to suddenly start heating up, and then all of a sudden it's just freaking hot. And I'm sure other Oregonians can confirm this because it's just been a weird summer. You think, when is the sun going to come out? And then all of a sudden it comes out and it's blazing hot like 10 minutes later. But let's get back to picking these blackberries. There's nothing better than some fresh picked berries, in my opinion. Or honestly, just fresh fruit in general. I swear there's nothing better. And me and my kiddos, including my youngest, have been snacking on fruit a lot this summer. So when I said any of these babies are inside like 90% of the time, what I mean is just like Drew did pick up a job like we were saying, and he also does the gig work, and as you know, we only have the one vehicle. And it's not even just that. These days, functions to take your kiddos to cost a lot of money. If we want to do anything as a family, we're going to have to rent a car. I've done the math on pretty much anything we want to do is going to cost us anywhere from $200 to $300. And honestly, that's why we haven't done the urban air trip. We've been trying to put aside as much as we can for housing opportunities, and we've also come to the conclusion that there's other events and things that only pop up once a year, whereas urban air is there all the time. And I feel my kids are old enough, so I keep them pretty informed on like what the events are that are coming up throughout the year locally, or even if we want to take a little trip, and they know, they make a decision with me. So we ended up making like a blackberry syrup for our pancakes with those blackberries we picked, and then like I said, this was the day after we went to that motel, so this was also Drew's first day back at a W-2. This particular morning, we were all up at like 5:36 in the morning. So after Drew had left for work, we went back out and picked a few more blackberries, ran some energy off outside, and we all ended up taking an afternoon nap. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
But let's rewind. Back when Drew wasn't working, when he was home all day gaming and filming himself for TikTok, she still didn't take the kids anywhere. So was the issue really the car, or is it just another layer of lazy justification? Public transportation exists. City buses, community rides, even walking to a local playground. If she cared enough, she could find a way. But all of that requires effort, and more importantly, it requires her to put the needs of her children before her own comfort. And that's where the truth sits uncomfortably. The effort isn't being made because the will isn't there. In a world full of free and low-cost resources for struggling families, Stephanie continues to operate like none of them exist. Parks are free, splash pads are free, museums often have community days, churches host family activities, libraries offer free story time and activities for kids. And yet, her kids remained locked in that motel room like it's a prison they have been sentenced to, when no day passes and no hope for release. What Stephanie calls an adventure is just another excuse. What she portrays as a lifestyle is really a coping mechanism. And it's the kids who suffer while she tries to keep up appearances online. One of the most heartbreaking parts of this story is how Stephanie uses the urban air trip as a carrot she never intends to give. She told her kids she would take them there as part of a birthday reward, something they'd been looking forward to all year. But when the time came, she had a new excuse: money. She said the family was saving for housing and that the trip would cost between $200 and $300.
Brazilian Jenkins just made a new post about picking wild berries behind their motel. Stephanie explained why she's not taking her kids to urban air again, even after getting TikTok paid, and completely ignoring the elephant in the room that they have court tomorrow. Well, let's talk about it. Now, content creators get paid on the 15th of every month by TikTok. So Stephanie let us know that she has all these activities planned for the kids, but not urban air. And she didn't tell us what these said activities were, but she let us know that the kids do know what they are. Mind you, this is a stay-at-home mom who lives in a motel who's only taken her kids to the public library all summer. And that was only one time. Next up, the berry picking outside the motel. Now, I'm all for foraging, but picking berries at a very sketchy motel is probably not the best idea. And tell me, why are they this messy? Yes, berries are messy, but you are the adult. I feel like she shows these things to try to be relatable. Like, your kids being a mess 24/7 is not relatable. And of course, last, she did not mention anything about their upcoming court date or their GoFundMe. The GoFundMe was a complete failure. They're at $200 right now, and I'm pretty sure she's the one who's anonymously donating to herself. And if you guys didn't hear,
She said the family was saving for housing and that the trip would cost between $200 and $300. Let's pause right there. Stephanie reportedly earns thousands on TikTok monthly. Their motel is funded through shelter support. They pay no rent, yet she claims they couldn't afford a $200 trip for all the children to enjoy one decent day of childhood. Where is the money going? She even went further, saying urban air is available year-round, but other one-time events aren't. So they're skipping it to save money for occasional events and housing. But the problem is, none of those other events ever seem to happen either. No zoo trips, no park outings, no splash pad afternoons, and nothing. One of her daughters even wrote in a birthday card to her sister how she hated her sibling's birthday and felt left out. That should have been a wake-up call. Instead, Stephanie ignored it. When the daughter's own birthday came, Stephanie didn't even pretend to make it special. She claimed she didn't want to post what they did for privacy. But it's clear nothing happened. Generational disappointment in real time. Stephanie once told her daughter to get used to being disappointed when Drew failed to get her donuts like he promised. But that wasn't a one-off. Stephanie herself has broken so many promises, from urban air to birthdays to even just regular outdoor time, that her children are growing up numb to neglect. Let's not forget the storage unit situation. All the children's belongings, clothes, toys, memories were auctioned off for a measly $4, and Stephanie didn't lift a finger to save it, despite having the money. Meanwhile, Drew shows off his new Apple Watch and gaming controller, both presumably purchased with funds that they could have spent on their kids. The toddler is constantly in oversized adult t-shirts. Another child wears the same jumper in the same summer heat. There is no evidence of new clothes, proper meals, or anything that signals stability. These kids have been failed over and over again, both emotionally and materially. The illusion of effort. Joe's chaotic attempt at employment is nothing but performance, a poorly executed role in a sympathy-based drama that never seems to end. He goes through the motions of work, But the intent behind it is not to build something stable. It's to maintain a narrative, one that benefits him financially and socially. Stephanie isn't far behind. Her constant excuses are no longer justifications. They are distractions. She stacks one over another like a wall, keeping out any real accountability. Both of them seem far more invested in curating an image of hardship for online audiences than actually improving their circumstances. And the worst part? The children are the ones bearing the emotional weight of this illusion. While Joe and Stephanie posture for TikTok and livestream followers, their kids endure a reality full of broken promises. No urban air trip despite repeated assurances. No birthday magic even when a child directly expressed how excluded and unloved she felt. No simple joy of running in a park, splashing at a pad, or eating ice cream on a sunny day. Just more time in a cramped motel room surrounded by heat, clutter, and emotional emptiness. It's not just physical neglect. They are being conditioned to see disappointment as love, instability as normal, and abandonment as routine. These children are being emotionally programmed to lower their expectations, to accept that adults lie, that joy isn't for them, and that waiting forever is part of the deal. This is no longer about broken systems or tough times. It's about parenting choices, about two adults who keep choosing themselves while convincing the world that they are victims of circumstance. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe Drew is sabotaging his job on purpose for sympathy? Is Stephanie just overwhelmed? Or is she crafting her struggle into content? Like and subscribe to stay updated as this unraveling story continues to expose more truths.